You probably believe you have an anxiety problem, but what you really have is a story problem. The story goes like this: one day, you'll finally feel confident, calm, ready, and then you'll start living the way you say you want to live. Until that day comes, you study, you read, you save threads, you watch videos like this one. But when the call pops up, when your boss asks for an update, when someone crosses your line, you still back down. In your head, you are a man of potential. In reality, you are a man who keeps postponing his own life. Every year that you wait to feel ready, your world gets smaller. You avoid certain rooms, certain people, certain opportunities. You call this protection, but it's quiet surrender. Modern self-help and mindset culture trained you to chase emotions first. Boost your confidence, erase your anxiety, get the right affirmation, and only then take the risk. You've been taught that action is something you earn after your feelings improve. The truth is harsher and more merciful. There are men who still feel fear in their chest, the same racing heart, the same tight throat, but they move anyway. And there are men who spend their entire lives trying to fix their feelings before they dare move at all. The first group grows, the second decays while sounding smart. If you don't see this lie clearly, you will waste years working on yourself and never changing how you actually show up in real moments. The Japanese warriors you admire never waited for perfect inner weather. They learned to fall with fear, to stand with it, to find holding it. That is the code of Nanakorobi Yaoki, and it is nothing like the polished quote you see online everywhere today. Nanakorobi Yaoki sounds poetic when you see it on a poster or Instagram. Fall 7 times, get up 8. But in Japan, it was never a decoration, it was a demand. Samurai lived and died by it. Farmers rebuilding after floods and earthquakes embodied it. Craftsmen carving the same line in wood or steel for 30 years breathed it. In that world, falling was not a dramatic failure, it was daily reality. Imagine a young warrior in a dusty dojo, facing an older swordsman. They bow, clash, and within seconds the boy is on the floor, bruised and humiliated. No one rushes to comfort him. No one says, "It's okay, maybe this isn't for you." He is expected to stand, fix his stance, and step back in again and again until his body learns what his pride resisted. Nanakorobi Yaoki is not about magically succeeding on the 8th try. It is about understanding that the fall is not a glitch in the process. The fall is the process. Real learning is measured not by how often you perform smoothly, when everything feels good, but by how many times you stand back up while shaken, embarrassed, and unsure, and still do what must be done. When you treat every setback as a verdict on who you are, you train yourself to stay down and call it destiny. When you see each hit as one more rep in your training, the same moment becomes fuel. Most men today quote resilience while collapsing at the first sign of resistance. The samurai lived resilience by design, long before we had words like neuroplasticity or exposure therapy. What they practiced on dusty floors is exactly how your anxious brain can be rewired now in your favor. When you dodge something that scares you, it feels like relief. Your chest loosens, your thoughts slow down, and for a few minutes you think, "Good, I escaped that." What you don't see is the quiet deal your brain is making in the background, deep in your fear circuitry, especially in the amygdala. A simple association is being recorded. Situation danger, avoidance to safety. Every time you skip the call, cancel the plan, or dodge the hard conversation, you're not just avoiding stress, you're training your own nervous system to panic faster next time. Imagine a guy who keeps postponing client calls. Each time he moves it to tomorrow, he gets a hit of relief. That tiny reward is how his brain learns. We survive by running. After a year, the thought of dialing a number makes his heart race. He thinks he's broken. He isn't. His brain is doing exactly what he unknowingly trained it to do. Modern exposure therapy works by reversing that pattern. Instead of rewarding avoidance, you step into controlled fear on purpose. You stay in the situation long enough for the body to realize, we did not die, we can handle this. Each exposure is a small fall. Each time you walk away still breathing, you lay down new evidence of safety. This is Nanakorobi Yaoki at the level of neurons. The fall is the phone call, the meeting, the honest conversation. Getting up is staying present until the fear wave passes instead of escaping. Right now you live with avoidance and panic. You react, then regret. When you start using fear as training, falling becomes the gym where your nervous system grows stronger instead of the courtroom where it keeps sentencing you. The most dangerous belief you carry is that a fall means something is wrong with you. You bomb a presentation, stumble over your words in a conversation, get rejected, and your mind writes a headline, "I'm just not good at this." That story is what keeps you weak. Nanakorobi Yaoki was never fail 7 times and then magically win on the 8th. It is a training prescription. Every fall is a rep, a deliberate stress on the system that teaches your body, your nervous system. We took the hit, and we are still here. Think about lifting weights. If you stop the set the moment the muscle starts to burn, you never grow. Strength lives past the point where you want to quit, not before it. The same with martial arts. A fighter who only spars when he feels sharp will be destroyed by the one who has been hit, dropped, smothered on the mat 100 times, and kept coming back. Most men treat each awkward interaction, shaky meeting, social misfire as a final exam they failed. Warriors treat those same moments as logged sessions. That was fall number 3. Good, I needed that. The result is not instant confidence. It is familiarity with stress. Under pressure, the man who has fallen more has more data. His body knows the difference between discomfort and danger. You are not behind because you are broken. You are behind because you are under-rehearsed. If you keep interpreting each stumble as a verdict on your worth, you will never stay in the ring enough to become unshakable over time. When you start seeing falls as training, you stop asking, "Did I fail?" and start asking, "Did I get my reps today?" And that question is where real change in you begins for good. Philosophy is worthless if it never touches your calendar. So we turn Nanakorobi Yaoki into something you can actually live. For the next 60 to 90 days, you build what I call the 7 fall protocol. It starts with a simple question. Where does anxiety control you most brutally right now? Maybe it is work calls, speaking in meetings, confronting disrespect, or walking into social situations where you feel exposed. You do not attack everything at once. You pick one arena, the one that quietly dictates too many of your decisions, and you declare it your dojo. Then you design 7 deliberate falls inside that arena, each one slightly heavier than the last. Fall 1 and 2 are tiny exposures, sending one honest message you have been avoiding, making one brief comment in a meeting, asking one question in a group instead of nodding in silence. Fall 3 and 4 step up the weight. A short call you would normally dodge, a small presentation to a few coworkers, a direct but respectful disagreement when you would usually shut down. Fall 5, 6, and 7 are heavier lifts. Leading an entire meeting, attending a networking event, and speaking to 3 strangers, naming a boundary in a relationship where you have stayed quiet. The goal is not to perform perfectly on any of these. The goal is completion. Every time you step into a planned fall and come out the other side, even messy, you log 1 rep against fear. You stop waiting for courage like weather and start behaving like a man who is training on purpose. Samurai had kata, artisans had daily repetitions, monks had strict rituals to carve philosophy into their bones. This is your kata 7 chosen impacts in one arena. Repeat it until your nervous system stops panicking and starts recognizing, we can stand here. But a protocol is only as strong as the person carrying it. To walk into these falls, you must stop seeing yourself as a victim of anxiety and start seeing yourself as a relentless student of fear instead for the rest of your life. This is where most people fail. They try new techniques while clinging to the same fragile identity. On the surface, they schedule calls, attend meetings, force themselves into social situations, but underneath they still see themselves as the anxious guy, the one who needs perfect conditions, who must hide his weaknesses, or people will see how broken he is. When that is who you believe you are, every exposure becomes a test of your worth. If it goes badly, you don't just think, I had a rough fall. You think, this proves I'm not built for this, and you retreat deeper. The shift you need is brutal and freeing. You stop being the man who has anxiety and start becoming the student of fear. Your job is no longer to look calm. Your job is to collect falls. This is where Shushin, beginner's mind, becomes more than poetry. In the arenas that scare you, you admit, I am a white belt. Of course I am bad. Of course I will shake, forget my words, feel exposed. The shame drops because you're no longer demanding level 10 performance from a level 1 learner, and Gambaru perseverance stops being about feeling hyped and becomes the simple act of honoring your decision long after the mood has died. Each time anxiety spikes, you run a different script. Not, something is wrong with me, but, good, this is my training, this is fall number 3, or 5, or 10. You stop measuring your life by how smooth your days are and start measuring it by how often you return to the path you chose. With that identity in place, the 7 fall protocol is no longer torture. It is self-respect. The way you prove to yourself the kind of man you truly intend to be. If your 7-fall protocol stays as theory, your old life will swallow it in a week. You need to carve it into your days. Each morning, before the chaos starts, you take 2 minutes and choose one specific discomfort you will face on purpose today. Not a vague, be braver, but something concrete. Send the message you have delayed. Ask the question you avoided last time. Name a small boundary. Volunteer one idea in the meeting where you usually stay silent. You already know what scares you. Your body tells you with a tight chest, racing thoughts, and that familiar urge to postpone. Instead of negotiating with those signals, you expect them. You decide in advance. At 3 o'clock, I send this voice note. In today's meeting, I will speak once before it ends. Then you honor that appointment like you would honor a promise to someone you respect. The win is not that you feel calm when the moment comes. The win is that you act while your heart is pounding. Afterwards, you log it. Nothing fancy: date, what fall you attempted, how intense the anxiety was, what actually happened, and one piece of evidence that you survived. My voice shook, but the call ended and nothing exploded. This is how your brain slowly learns that fear is a sensation, not a command. You start with micro falls, repetitions so small that part of you feels silly writing them down, and only increase intensity when you have proof that you can feel awful and still function. Monks did not meditate once a month when it was convenient. Warriors did not train only on inspired days. They touched their practice daily, quietly, when nobody was watching. An unshakable mind is not forged by rare heroic acts. It is built through consistent, humble collisions with fear that you choose day after uneventful day, until standing up becomes your default instead of running. If you skip these small tests, the big, unavoidable hits later will feel catastrophic, instead of like heavy but familiar training. You are trying to build an unwavering mind in a world designed to keep you wavering. Fudoshin is often translated as a movable heart, but it does not mean you feel nothing. It means you refuse to let feelings decide your behavior. That is a different standard from the one you are used to. Your default environment is a weapon against this. Notifications, feeds, endless pleasures. Every time anxiety rises, there is a button you press to numb it. You forget. Your scheduled fall because you opened one app, then another, and by the time you look up, the moment has passed. You tell yourself life got in the way, when in reality distraction did the job fear asked it to do. Fudoshin is a quiet valve. When the moment I chose arrives, I will not negotiate with my emotions. I will feel the doubt, the shaking, the imagined judgment, and I will move anyway. Picture a samurai standing in a storm. Rain stings his face, wind pulls at his clothes, but his stance holds. In your life, the storm is made of thoughts and fantasies. Fudoshin is the decision to keep your feet planted and your hand moving toward the task regardless. If you do not guard your mind this way, the culture will train you to be softer and more moved than your fear deserves. Without Fudoshin, even the best protocol becomes a phase. You abandon the moment it starts to matter most. This is the point where this stops being an idea and becomes your life. You have seen the lie now. waiting to feel confident before you act, treating anxiety as proof that something is wrong with you. You have seen the alternative, using fear as weight, turning every fall into training instead of a verdict. Nanakorobi Yaoki is no longer a quote. It is a way to measure yourself. There is the common path potential in your 20s, then decades of avoidance, shrinking circles, a life designed around what you hope never happens. And there is the other path, the man who chooses his falls, lets his world grow because he is willing to be uncomfortable inside it. From the outside, he looks calm, naturally confident. Only he knows his heart still races and his hands still tremble. The difference is simple. He has trained himself to stand in the wave instead of running from it. Now you choose which man you will be, not in theory, but in the next 60 to 90 days. Choose your first scheduled fall, one call, one conversation, one small confrontation. Commit to 7 falls in that arena and log them like a warrior counts his drills. If you leave without choosing, you are agreeing to live the same year again. Those who commit now will look back and see a life built by getting up one more time than they fell, code that turned fear into strength.